We're back in the workshop where we did the filing a while ago, and now here on this part of the workbench we're going to do the weathering. Little newspaper to keep things from getting any messier than they have to be. These are powders made by Weather Systems. They are very, very fine. They're a lot finer than chalk, and chalk has its place, but these are so fine that they can be worked into a project a lot easier and more effectively and a lot more realistically than chalk. And here from the people at Bar Mills are some rust powders that have definitely have a place, and we'll use some of those today as well. And we need brushes. So for this we use a couple of brushes. Here's a fan brush. I didn't buy this, I sort of inherited it, and I've grown to like it for putting on weathering powders in large areas, and a small brush that just does the weathering powders. Once you start using powders with these brushes, you can't really go back and use them for anything else. So let's get started. Here is dirt. I'm just picking up a little bit on this brush, a little bit. One of the nice things about working with these powders is you put on a bit, and if it's not enough, you can easily put on more. And I guess if you put on too much, then you're in trouble, which is why I do it in layers. And by the time you put the fixative spray on here, it will tone down a great deal. And now I'm going to use some of this white, which is like an ash, but it also is kind of a dirt color as well, and I'll just work it in here. The goal here is not to see how much of this stuff you can use, but to use it sparingly, and then put on some of the fixative, stand back and see what you think it looks like. Now here's the killer, and that is this soot. We're going to use the soot rather sparingly. We're going to use it around the doors where people would have been inclined, people with dirty hands in this case, might be inclined to grab hold of something. And we're going to use a bit of it here on the front part as well. Now this needs to be sort of ground in here because the concrete paint has made this slick. And we may have to go back and do a second coat of this after we've done the first coat of fixative. And notice that I'm reusing the powder that has just sort of gathered up here on the workbench, on the paper, the newspaper, because once it falls off, it's fair game. And I collect this stuff too, and have a little cup over here that has a bit of it in it. Now, this stuff, which I'm going to use the smaller brush on, we're going to put a little rust here on this roll-up door. And boy, a little of this goes a long way. This is kind of subtle, I realize, and may not be as sort of all-encompassing as the dirt and others are, but it adds a little texture here, and that's kind of the essence of detailing. So put that aside and take our front, and as long as we're into the rust, we'll do a little of the same here with this one. And it's not, once again, it's not see how much of this stuff you can get on. It's a little bit into the nooks and crannies where one might expect to find rust. Okay, we'll close that back up because I sure don't want that to spill. And now I'm coming back to the black stuff, which I'm putting around here just as I did on the other one, in places where one might expect soot and or grease and or grime to gather. And I've not put that little gas pump like thing in place here because I wanted to have some of this weathering on before that got mounted. And here we are with more dirt on here. Now this, it's a lot of, it looks like a lot is on here, but when the fixative gets added, much of this will disappear into the area here that we're covering up. So don't think that this is going to look like a building that has just come out of a flood. Where'd the white go? There it is. The white also helps bring out some details and looks like a little soot. And if you, not soot, but ash. And you need to make sure that if you're using it, that you don't have it suddenly stop. Now we're going to put signs on this building because every garage belongs to somebody, but that's among the very last things to happen. Okay, now we're going to use this Krylon, crystal clear, flat. Comes from Walmart, $3.73 a can at the Walmart where I live. And this will seal that powder. We're not seeing how much we can put on, we're just giving it a liberal dose. And then set it aside to dry. This stuff dries in about 10 minutes, which is pretty good. So here they are, post-weathering. And I'd say so far so good. And now I'm going to use some of this stuff. Woodland Scenics Accent Glue. This product stays tacky forever. So I'm just going to put some on the bottom here of this little gas pump thingy and a dot of it where I think the gas pump thingy is going to go. And let them sit there for a while until the glue turns transparent. So this is ripe for planting. Okay, now we're going to make the roofs for this using the instructions that came with the Design Preservation Schultz's Garage Kit. Okay, we've made the roofs, which of course we've cut so as to fit the two halves of the building that we've constructed here. And now we're going to paint the roof with some Floqual Weathered Black. It's a great roof paint because it looks just like its name implies, that it's been out in the sun for a while. We're going to start by painting the underside here where it will be seen under the eaves of the building. Okay, those are the roofs, and we're just going to let them dry for a while. Now we're going to do some glazing the windows for these two background buildings, and for that we're going to go back to the Woodland Scenics Accent Glue. But we're not going to use the little built-in brush because it can't get to some of these areas without making a mess. So we're going to use a regular brush, and we're just going to lightly put the glue on these surfaces. Where the acetate will be mounted. I've cut the acetate into pieces that are almost the exact size of the windows. And now I'm using these pliers, needle nose pliers, to put each pane exactly where it needs to go, and it sticks immediately because of that accent glue. Okay, we're ready to put the roof on. And we'll just run a bead of this liquid plastic cement down one side and here on the top of the wall, and here where the two roofs are going to join together, and the same thing on this side. Well, the garages are coming right along and approaching completion, but they're not complete because they don't have any people. So I've picked out a couple of worker type people here from my collection of people. I probably have, I don't know, 200 or 300 people. And I'm putting more of that woodland scenic accent glue on their feet, or in the case of this one, on the base. Okay, we're going to put these guys in place here. This one will go inside the doorway here. Right there. The backs of these buildings will be made of black foam core board, which will be cut to the exact shape of the opening in the back. And on the inside of that back wall, I'm going to paste a picture. I've got a collection of pictures in various categories, in this case garage pictures, and some of them are big and some of them are small, just the size to go in the back of the garage. So if you look in through the door, you'll see a scene that goes on for many feet because of the photograph that will be back there that you will see when you look through the door. Here are the two interiors, and they really do add depth to the scene inside these little tiny garages. I'm now at my desk, at my laptop, and to add the final touch to this project, some signs. So I've mounted the Bob's Garage sign on a piece of photo mat board, the kind of board that you'd use to make a mat board in a painting or a picture that you're going to frame. And now I'm using just a regular old felt tip marker to color the edges of the white paper on which the sign is printed so that it blends in with the black of the mat board. Okay, to mount these, we're back to good old Woodland Scenics accent cement that I'm putting on the back of this mat board, and we will let it dry. Bob's Garage sign right there in the front. And that's Bob himself doing a little cleanup work inside the garage. Not bad. Well, there you go. I think all told, this building, now two buildings, probably ate up about 5 hours of my day, but I squeezed a lunch in somewhere in the middle of that, so it didn't take all that long, and the end result is pretty good. And as you've seen, I hope, not all that difficult to do. Just takes a little time and have a few supplies on hand, and having a box of old parts doesn't hurt. Thanks for watching.